This video will go over the rules of the road for a driver and how to handle the paperwork when moving a hazmat load. As a driver, the first concern is making sure the load is going to be on a roadworthy unit. In this case, you're doing a pre-trip inspection like you would every day. Remember, because of the nature of hazardous materials having inherent risks and a higher likelihood of things like a fire, you want to really examine any potential issues with the chassis before moving the load. Check the tires carefully on the chassis to make sure the tread is at least 2/32 of an inch and not worn out. If you have any concerns about the tires, you should change the tires before utilizing the container. A simple spark from a tire can cause combustible or flammable hazardous materials to ignite. The best practice with hazardous materials is assume it's more likely a fire hazard. Every time you park the vehicle, you should check the tires again once you do have hazmat on your container. Make certain the load has proper blocking and bracing and that everything looks secure inside the container before leaving any shipper's location. If you see a lack of blocking and bracing, report it to your dispatch. Better to err on the side of caution than it is to have a problem en route from the shipper. Remember, in order to move any load with hazardous material, you must have the bill of lading with you showing the hazmat shipping information. A J1 interchange receipt can also be used as the shipping, as it will have all of the same information as a BOL except a shipper certification, which can be electronic and thus won't appear on a J1. Looking at the information, determine what placards need to be on the container. If it's already placarded when you find it, the onus of responsibility to double check still rests on the driver. You want to make sure the placards are on all four sides. It's not rare for us to find one has gone missing in transit on the train. If that happens, report it to your dispatcher. If you have an extra placard the same type, you can resolve this yourself. You may also have to try and work with the ramp. If all else fails, don't take the load as is. The fines for not following the placard rule are thousands of dollars. Make sure the placards are clean and properly placed, easy to see. Make sure they aren't blending into the trailer container because of words on the container or symbols. The rail requires the placards to be 2 feet from the top of the container. If it's not a rail move, it simply must be readily visible. If you are at a rail yard or a shipper and the placards you received are not correct in your opinion, get your dispatch involved. Err on the side of caution always. Shippers make mistakes. Ramps often make mistakes with regards to the placarding rules. Don't simply do as instructed, but check with your dispatch before making any changes to the placards. In earlier videos, we discussed what is called permissive placarding, which is placarding something that doesn't require placards but still has the hazardous material present. If it doesn't require placards, a non-hazmat endorsed driver can take the load, provided he had training on hazardous materials. If you are a non-hazmat endorsed driver and you encounter placards at the railroad or at a customer on a rail container, do not take the load. The railroads in the world of intermodal does not use permissive placarding at all. Assume something is wrong and contact your dispatch and do not take the load in that case. Remember, do a quick double check of the information on the BOL. First determine what the hazards are regardless of the placards. Be mindful of those in case there's an incident so you're already prepared. Quickly do a checklist of the things you must check. Does my BOL have a description of the type of packages? Is the hazmat weight on the BOL? Is the shipping hazmat information in the correct order? Remember ISHP, identification number, shipping proper name, Haz class packing group? If it's in the wrong order, contact your dispatch. Locate the emergency phone number specific to the hazmat shipping paper. If it's not a J1 you're carrying, check the shipper certification to make certain it's been signed by someone. It can be a printed name or typed name, it simply must be legible. And as silly as the shipper certification sounds, that's a $1,000 fine to the driver if it's not signed and the police catch it. Once the check is done, make certain you have the emergency response information in addition to your shipping paper. This could be the ERG guidebook or safety data sheets or material safety data sheets as well. Once you're ready to drive, the rule is your hazmat shipping paper and the emergency response information must be within reach and visible without taking off your seatbelt. Find a secure area where you can put both together and you can easily reach them. Make sure it's visible to anyone entering the driver compartment. The hazmat shipping paper must be on top or have a tab on it to make it easily identifiable as the hazmat shipping paper. If you have to remove your seatbelt to get them, you are in danger of a ticket. If this rule seems harsh, consider why it exists. If something bad happens, like an accident, and you're unconscious, the idea is you want the emergency responder to be able to find this information. This is the whole idea behind many of the hazmat rules, so the emergency responder knows where to look for the hazmat shipping paper without guessing. When you're not in the truck, the hazmat emergency information and hazmat shipping paper should be left on the driver's seat or in a driver's pouch on the door. I personally believe the driver's seat is the best option. It will always make it easier for the emergency responder to find it. Note, this includes even when you are fueling your tractor. Put those papers on the seat, even if you are staying near the unit. If you're not sitting at the controls, always place them on the seat. If you are hauling a placarded hazmat load, you must stop at the railroad tracks anytime you encounter them and determine if it is safe before crossing the tracks. The stop should be within 50 feet, but no more than 15 feet. If you don't stop with placarded hazmat and you are ticketed, a conviction of that ticket means you will lose your CDL. It will be suspended by the state for a minimum of 3 months. Anytime you park the vehicle, check the tires again. Check all your placards again and make sure nothing has fallen off. If snow or mud or anything is covering a placard, it must be cleaned off before proceeding. Once your container trailer is empty, the placards must come off the container. Leaving placards on a container trailer when there's no hazmat left is thousands of dollars in fines.